Tiki Room under new management might not be the worst Disney attraction ever made, but it is definitely in our top 3. Many people grew up with this attraction and they love it. After all, it was the Tiki Room that they knew and loved. But today we'll tell you why we think this attraction is a Disney disaster.
Welcome to Hollywood.
This place is gonna be a gold mine!
The Enchanted Tiki Room under new management opened April 5th, 1998, replacing the Tropical Serenade. This was not a simple refurbishment, but a complete change from the original show. The story began even before you entered the building. While waiting outside, a waterfall opens to show 2 toucans named William and Morris. These birds were big Hollywood agents who had just signed on their clients to be new hosts for the Enchanted Tiki Room. After they've been arguing for a while about whose client is better, they decide that they will have both their clients involved and split the money. After this little skit, guests entered the building where the show took place. The main show opened exactly as it used to, with Jose being woken up at the start of the show and the birds singing. But as they kept singing, they were rudely interrupted by none other than Iago, who told the birds that their show is boring and the people will not like it. Iago announces that he and Zazu have purchased the Tiki Room, and tells the choir that they better not get too attached to their original show. If they want to keep their jobs, they've got to get hip. Zazu gets scared and tells Iago that he should not disrespect the Tiki gods. Of course, Iago proceeds to insult them, and this results in Oa, the Tiki goddess of disaster, getting mad. She appears, and after singing a song, she sends Iago flying and disappears. The wooden tikis take over rapping and singing some more songs, until Iago comes back, burnt and on crutches. He proclaims the new Tiki Room under his management a rousing success and decrees that the new place will be a gold mine. He then calls Zazu his friend, and they all proceed to sing their own rendition of Conga. Zazu sang about how Iago learned his lesson and would no doubt be more discreet in the future. Iago decided to show Zazu that he would not be discreet, telling everybody to get on their feet and leave. So now, let's talk about this mess, and the 5 main reasons why it's one of the worst Disney attractions ever made. It replaced a classic ride. The Enchanted Tiki Room is one of the most important and classic attractions of Disney parks. It opened back in 1963 at Disneyland and was the first attraction ever to feature audio animatronics technology.
You know, the same scientific equipment that guides rockets to the moon is used to make Jose and his little friends in the Tiki Room sing, talk, move, and practically think for themselves. I guess you could call him a creature of the space age.
That's right, the audio animatronics were created because of this attraction. The Tiki Room was originally supposed to be a restaurant that would feature an audio animatronic show that would have birds singing and entertaining guests while they ate. But Walt thought that the show was too great to just be there as a background. So he asked Imagineers to develop a whole attraction. The music was written by the Sherman Brothers. Voices were provided by Thurl Ravenscroft and Wally Bogue. Imagineers like Harriet Burns and Mark Davis worked on the characters. Marty Schuyler wrote parts of the script, and Rolly Crump came up with the pre-show. And we can go on with the list of Disney legends that worked on this attraction. But most importantly, Walt loved the project. As soon as the Enchanted Tiki Room opened, it became an instant hit. So of course, as soon as Walt Disney World was being planned, this attraction was in the plans. Tropical Serenade, Walt Disney World's version of the Tiki Room, opened in 1971 at Walt Disney World, and although accompanied by a new pre-show, where there was a waterfall in place of the Tiki gods and a new name, the main show was the same. And the show was also a hit, of course. It stayed like that for a long time, until September 1st, 1997, when it closed for renovations and updating. But instead of reopening as a classic attraction with our favorite birds, it became something else. Sure, we could still find Jose, Michael, Pierre, and Fritz, but they didn't get to sing their original songs, which brings us to our next point. It was disrespectful to the Enchanted Tiki Room. Look, it's one thing to replace a great ride with a not-so-great one. We're looking at you, Stitch. But it's another to completely disrespect a classic attraction, like the Tiki Room under new management did with the Tiki Room. It didn't replace it. It made fun of it and ridiculed it. The show started as it normally did, but suddenly, Iago comes in.
Toss my kraken! And these people below me, they ain't gonna like that. Trust me.
That's just rude. Zazu comes in and tells Iago that he should not toy with the Enchanted Tiki Room. But of course, he doesn't listen and keeps insulting the birds.
Now listen, you bird brains! If you're gonna keep your jobs, you gotta get hip. I know all about it, see?
He then proceeds to sing a song telling the birds that he's a famous Hollywood star, that he's rich and they should thank him. And then, he continues singing, asking the birds if they can sing in punk, rap, or rock and roll. Yes, really. He ends his song by telling the birds that they've got to get hip or they will disappear. As soon as the song ends, Zazu warns Iago that the Tiki gods can hear them and to be careful. The response?
If I hear one more word about those tiki-tacky, Polynesian, pineapple-picking, wood-for-brains, moron tiki gods! Hey, who turned out the lights?
This results in the Tiki goddess of disaster awakening and sending Iago flying. You would think that Iago learns his lesson, and he kind of does, because as soon as the Tiki gods finish their show, he says that the gods were the greatest act he'd ever seen, and that the place would be a goldmine. But while the guests are leaving, he continues being rude to them.
Hey, kid, that's a real smart idea, walking directly under a bird. Good thing you're wearing a hat. Hey, lady, it wouldn't hurt you to walk a little faster.
So as you can see, this attraction was super disrespectful to the original, and that's another reason why we think it's awful. It would become quickly outdated. Most Disney attractions are timeless. They might get a few refurbishments from time to time, but they never grow old. So when the Tiki Room closed for refurbishment in 1997, everybody thought that the show would remain virtually unchanged. But as we know, the show changed completely. And this show would definitely age badly. It was not only the bad puns, but the music too. Usually, Disney rides have their own original music that stands the test of time. We've got Grim Grinning Ghosts in the Haunted Mansion, A Pirate's Life in Pirates of the Caribbean, or Tiki Bird singing the Tiki Room. But there was almost no original music under Iago's management. They took existing songs and changed them so they could fit with the attraction. Songs like Hot Hot Hot,
It's goodbye, my friend Pierre. It's so hot, hot, hot. Farewell, mon ami, for the end is plain to see, cause it's hot, hot, hot.
Conga,
Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. Shake your feathers, do that conga.
Look, here come the girl.
Get into the tiki rhythm of the songa. This is where your tiki birdies are longer now.
In the Still of the Night,
In the still of the night, I held you tight.
or Get On Your Feet were used. Look, we're not saying these are bad songs. They're pretty great, but they don't fit in a Disney attraction, and they definitely don't fit in the Tiki Room. Hot 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 was more than 10 years old by the time new management debuted. Replacing classic and timeless original music with outdated edited songs was definitely not a good choice. Iago and Zazu make an unlikely team. Iago and Zazu are both pretty popular birds from Disney movies in the 90s. Iago came first in Aladdin in 1992, and then Zazu followed in The Lion King in 1994. Each of them has their own personalities, and they are very different. Zazu is pretty uptight and dignified, while Iago is rude and annoying. They are characters with two diametrically opposed personalities. So honestly, to have them both being new owners of the Tiki Room is just lazy, and it is a really bad plot for the ride. We know that the manager's skit at the beginning justifies why they're both owners, but what seems to have happened here is that Disney looked for two birds from their most popular movies in the 90s and tried to use them for a new ride. But again, the pairing of these two birds doesn't make any sense. And our last point, it was a waste of talent. Imagineers are so talented. They come up with some amazing rides and awesome technology to bring their ideas to life. They make animatronics so lifelike that some of them are even creepy. Tiki Room under new management had awesome animatronics, and we're not only talking about Iago and Zazu, which are great. Aoa, the Tiki goddess of disaster, is an amazing animatronic. She's the goddess that appears when Iago keeps insulting the Tiki gods. Emerging from a podium in the center of the room where the enchanted fountain was originally installed, Aoa breaks into song as she unleashes divine punishment onto Iago, before disappearing in a puff of smoke. We can safely say that this animatronic was the best part of this attraction. When Tiki Room under new management closed, the animatronic was reused for Trader Sam's Grog Grotto. When a drink is ordered, the bartenders start to chant her name as the lights flash, accumulating in the figure's eyes, glowing and speaking her signature line. Sadly, she doesn't move as amazingly as she used to in the attraction. Somehow, this mess of an attraction lasted for 13 years, but in January of 2011, the attraction was interrupted in the middle of a show. Guests had to be evacuated and were informed that a fire had started in the building. The Iago animatronic was damaged beyond repair, and the sprinkler system damaged It was decided that Tiki Room under new management would thankfully never return. Instead, Imagineers announced during 2011's D23, Destination D, that the attraction would reopen as Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. It would be the original attraction with remastered audio, new lighting, and the classic cast of birds we all know and love. And on August 15, 2011, Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room opened at Magic Kingdom. So tell us, what is your opinion of this attraction? Love it or hate it? Let us know in the comments.